Thank you for joining us for practice. What we're going to be exploring in this particular set of pranayamas is how to cultivate your Ujjayi breathing, and then how to bring that into the next stage of a practice that will introduce you to Nadi Shodhana. So there's a stepping stone process going on here. First, you'll have an introduction to the physiological sigh, which is a breath practice that can help to disarm stress or tension. Then you'll have Ujjayi breathing, and you'll hear me talk about the specificity of how to do that. And then you'll learn how we use Nadi Shodhana and Ujjayi breathing in a combination practice called Anuloma Viloma Pranayama. Okay, enjoy the practice. Namaste. For practice, we're going to be doing a series of pranayama practices right now that are really helpful for brain health. And so I'm going to ask you to start with a comfortable seat and a short period of mindfulness for settling in. You're welcome to close your eyes. Lengthen your spine. It's especially helpful to lift up with the base of your skull. And very gently slide the base of your skull back. So there's going to be tone at the front of your throat. Not tightness, but tone. And then lift the center of your heart. Doesn't have to be a big lift, but you might want to feel that the sternum at the very top is going slightly up. And then your collarbones can roll back and the shoulder blades can roll down. And then lift your back ribs a little bit so there's more broadness across your back waist. And check that the floating ribs are not protruding forward. A little bit of tone at the front of your throat and also at the solar plexus. And then we're going to welcome the breath to drop down into the pelvic basin. And see if it's possible for you to watch the sort of unencumbered and unaltered breath, just for a few breath cycles. Can you just observe, simply noticing? You might observe the shape and the geography of your breath. And you could do that with an attitude of curiosity. What does the breath reflect? In terms of your sleep routine, digestion, mental activity. And with appreciation for your efforts to make a commitment like this to yourself, to your brain and body health, raise your hands to your heart. And make a commitment to yourself that during the practice, for any technique that's offered, you're really practicing within your own capacity. And the techniques are like a series of mini lessons that you can then consider how to put into a sequence or how to use in daily life when you need like a little pranayama scenic turnout. So you're welcome to bow your head to your heart. And release your hands and open your eyes. Okay. So there is research that's been done about one of the most accessible, common, familiar ways that we could breathe to reset our body and brain chemistry. And it's something that apparently we do naturally. You may not have noticed it in yourself, but it's said that we do it naturally. And through a long-term study of a very specialized and well-run study, they looked at this particular breathing, which we're going to call physiological sigh breathing. They also looked at box breathing, and they looked at another form of breathing, which I have forgotten the name of because I have a concussion. So this particular breath technique they discovered was the most helpful for overall generalized stress reduction for people. And I think that's an important aspect of how we take care of our brains. It's not just that we learn some techniques that we can use to bolster or enhance the brain, but can we also unburden or give less stress overall to the brain and body? So this is a long inhale, a regular full in breath, and then like a tiny apostrophe at the end of that inhale. We make one more little inhale, like a sniff of an inhale. And then we're going to exhale like we're sighing, which is why it's called the physiological sigh. So it goes like this. I'll just do it once, and it should look like something that you can do casually in daily life. Also something that you may have done sitting at your desk or in traffic or in a moment of stress. So here's a long inhale. And then a little sniff on top of that. And then sighing. So I shouldn't say it's a long inhale, but rather that it's a big inhale. You're taking whatever capacity inhale you can take. For me, mine is a little bit longer, as I hear from doctors who are checking, take a deep breath in. They're checking your lungs. They're like, okay, take a deep breath, but not such a long breath, they'll say to me. So my deep breath is apparently longer than most people's breath. So let's think of it as a full breath cycle with a little apostrophe breath cycle at the end. And let's do it 5 times. I'll do it one more time as a demonstration. And then we can just do it 5 times, each of us at our own pace. We're going to check and see what that feels like. Okay, so breathe in. And then sip. And sigh. And you actually are sighing out the mouth. Okay, breathe in your own timing. And then sip. And sigh. Okay, now 4 times on your own. In your own timing, maybe you have 1 more to do. And then notice what that's like. What is the feeling tone in your mind or your body? You might feel a little bit spaced out. You may have noticed that there's a shift of your biochemistry. There's a shift of O2 and CO2. You can feel like a little bit spacey. And you could practice this technique up to 5 minutes. You could set a timer for yourself to do that. One thing it does is readjust. So now we're going to have capacity for something like Ujjayi breathing to be more balanced from inhale to exhale. Whereas let's say without doing a preparatory breath, we might be coming into Ujjayi breathing, knowing that it's helpful, and then using like a mental attitude of, I'm going to get this Ujjayi breathing to help me overcome a stressful moment, which would be a little bit more coercive of a technique, even though it's a yoga skill. But if we do something that shifts us first, and then we drop into a yoga practice, a yoga pranayama, we might come to it with a little more humility and grace. So now we'll do Ujjayi breathing. This is where you place the tip of the tongue behind the top 2 teeth. You'll open the back of the throat so it's kind of hollow. And in that process, when you're breathing in, you'll hear a whispering sound that comes through the bottom of the throat. You feel like you're breathing through the sternoclavicular notch. The sound will be in the inner ear. This whispering sound, we want that to be silky and smooth, not staccato, and a little pause at the top and a pause at the bottom. Let's try it out. Okay, so place the tip of your tongue behind the top 2 teeth. Open the back of your throat, almost like you're about to yawn. And then begin to inhale, thinking not of inhaling through your nose, though the air is entering the nose. Think of like inhaling from the base of your throat. And same thing with your exhale, that you're not really thinking I'm exhaling through my nose, even though the air is leaving through the nose. It's an exhale that's moving through the hollow place at the back of the throat. Now, as your breath becomes smoother, either right now or with practice, start resting your mind on the smoothness of the breath, as if you were gazing at the surface of water in nature and it was very still. And encourage your mind to be that still. So the breath, you want it to be smooth for the purpose of smoothing out your mind. You may also be ready to start balancing your in-breath with your out-breath. You may be able to make the sound of the breath gradually more subtle while maintaining keen mental focus. That'll be a sign that you're maturing in your practice. The breath gets more subtle, the sound more smooth. The transition to inhale pause or exhale pause is, it's silent in the pause, but the transition becomes almost imperceptible because the breath is so subtle. Let your mind rest in that subtlety. And then welcome yourself to deeply relax. Release the technique altogether. Notice any shift in your mind, maybe a capacity to be present or grounded. And we'll do another technique that is really helpful in learning how to move to Nadi Shodhana, because we're going to combine the inhale of Nadi Shodhana, the exhale of Nadi Shodhana, and in between the two, there's going to be an Ujjayi breath. So what we'll be doing is inhale left nostril, Nadi Shodhana, and there's no Ujjayi during Nadi Shodhana. The narrowing of the aperture of the inhale is enough, so we don't also add Ujjayi. So we'll have inhale left nostril, then we're going to exhale Ujjayi, inhale Ujjayi, and then we'll exhale right nostril. Because there is not a long duration in between the two breaths, you might just keep your hand in the Nadi Shodhana position, right? Like at your nose. You could also choose to lay it down. If your inhale and exhale are quite long with Ujjayi, you could put your hand back down and bring it back up. Generally speaking, we want to limit the amount of movement of the physical body because the physical body, like the breath body, are going to be influencing the mental body. The physical body is more dense than the breath body, so keeping it relatively still and comfortable helps the breath body to do its part, and keeping that smooth lets the mental body come into a kind of tranquility. So place your right hand, so you've got your thumb and your ring finger like this, and then we're going to place the thumb and the ring finger on the sides of the nose, near to where the bone ends and your cartilage begins. And then gently closing the right nostril, does not need to be forceful. Let's inhale left side. And then exhale Ujjayi, no pressure on the nostrils. Inhale Ujjayi, no pressure on the nostrils. Exhale right side. We'll be inhaling on the right nostril. Exhale Ujjayi, no pressure on the nostrils. Inhale Ujjayi. You're cultivating a kind of trance for the mind while beginning to integrate the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So exhale left nostril. Inhale left side. Exhale Ujjayi. Inhale Ujjayi. Exhale right, and then continue at your own pace. Same pattern. And please do one more full round. So you'll begin left nostril, and then you'll be ending left nostril. Now, as you finish, or if you've already finished, you can deeply relax. If you have yet to finish, when you do complete the left nostril exhale, go ahead and rest your mind in the silence behind all thought and movement and sensation. And listen for the possibility that there is mental tranquility. Even if it's like a tiny pinhole of tranquility for you right now, rest your attention there. A word for that tranquility in Sanskrit is called stitau, a stable tranquility. Before you go, thank you for sharing your practice, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps us to keep producing content. Hit like for any videos that work well for you, because that is feedback for me. And then also leave comments and questions down below the video so we can have a conversation with you about your experiences. Thank you very much. Namaste.